Hi and welcome to Founders Club. Today I'll be interviewing Trent Macartney, who is the owner of Carter's Investment Group and Essential Studio.
We've got coming out in 2025 is really exciting, it's engaging, and it's taking us to where we want to go.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. You gotta know what you're talking about. And I think it's a really important thing with business is knowing your shit. Can you ask me something else?
Yeah. This is Founders Club and it is episode number 1. Today we're able to speak with Trent and he has 2 businesses. The first is a property investing business where he himself invests in property as well as coaches others into investing. And the other business is a Pilates studio here on the Gold Coast, which he recently purchased and helped grow that business to where now they're ready to scale. Thank you, Trent, for joining us today.
No problem.
Tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, cool. So I guess myself, I've been working in real estate and property investment for about 10, 12 years now, and we've had a lot of success within real estate in terms of selling, but also helping clients and others in terms of what they're trying to achieve as investors. And recently started a family, so we just had a newborn, and that's added a level of interest to life, you could say. It's definitely a bit of a shake-up, but we are very much enjoying it, and now trying to get a bit more of a routine as 2025 comes in. And yeah, it's an exciting year ahead, I think.
That's cool. Do you love being in business?
I do. I've worked many years with other people and had other employers and people that have sort of always had a say in what you do as an employee and as someone that's working. And I've found that the difficulty I have as a person is I've got so many ideas and I've got so many different interests and I've got so many things that my mind is pulling me towards, that when I work for someone or with someone, occasionally there is situations where I can't do what I want to do, and that's frustrating. And it meant that I had to go out and have the freedom within business to do what I wish to. So if I woke up one day, I could say, hey, I like that, let's do it. And then we get it done. Instead of, I like that, but you don't, we can't do it. Cool.
That's right. Yeah.
So yeah, I think business is something that is so addictive if you have that personality that has a large amount of curiosity towards where you're trying to go.
Yeah, cool. I agree. Tell us a bit about your investment business.
Well, the investment business started off the back of COVID. So we were blessed in a way with COVID figuring out how to work from remote or working from home, because before 2020, before COVID happened, we were always face to face. So the investment business meant that if you were helping someone buy an investment property, you were meeting them one-on-one at the cafe and you were sort of talking it through. And it was a very inefficient way of running a company, because you would always be stuck in peak hour, meeting people after hours, and it just wasn't something that really worked. Whereas when you have a situation where the world then appreciates online meetings, it creates opportunity to then bring a business to light that is completely remote. So that's where we brought the investment company as an online platform. And we now sit the meetings completely remote from the Gold Coast, and we help clients all over Australia figuring out what their next step is for investment. And that has been really great for clients, because if you're working an extensive shift in mining or something like that, and you want to run a meeting on your break or on your time off, it's much easier to jump on a call or a Zoom or a Google Meet and just make it happen. Whereas otherwise you'd have to wait till they're back on where they're living, then you go and see it. It just didn't work. So it just created that energy that you can actually relate to people online in a much more easy way.
So you guys consult people on their investment properties, is that correct?
Yeah, well, we try to take their problem and figure out a solution to it. So if someone comes to us with an idea around, hey, we want to get 2 or 3 properties in the next 3, 4, 5 years, then we will roadmap a plan in a way that is understandable. They can understand the financials around their decisions that they're going to be making, and then we go forward and try to target the areas and the assets that they're most happy with after we've provided education around what they should be doing. We've got a firm belief in helping people buy an investment but not being told to buy the investment. So that just means that instead of selling them something or telling them that they should buy it, we help educate them so that they can make the decision to purchase it themselves.
Yeah, that's awesome. And do you see I guess what success have you seen in your clients?
Fantastic success. So since we've had it going now for about 3 years, some of our first clients that got into the market, this is when sort of the Victorian market started to come off the boil a little bit. We then moved and shifted some of our clients that could only afford, between sort of $500,000 and $600,000 to purchase. But those clients getting into a market up in Queensland, not necessarily in Brisbane, but in other areas, but they were able to get massive equity increases on their portfolio or their initial properties in the first couple of years. And we've seen people then take that equity now and they're looking at second properties and expanding a bit further as well. So it's actually really nice to be able to see that come to light because you're really helping people change their situation. That's cool.
Yeah. How many clients do you work with at a time in that business?
It's just me running with clients at the moment, so it's very much a one-on-one business that we have, and I have around 30 people that I work with on an annual basis, but a lot of the people now are coming through referrals or repeat work, and I find that it just shows the more you take care in what you're finding for someone, the better likelihood that person's going to have a good experience, they're going to want to come back. So hopefully we can continue just to keep it small enough that we're just comfortable working with the number that we have, and we don't want to get too large and then compromise the standard of what we're actually offering people as an investment property.
Yeah. Have you had any bad investments you've learned a tough lesson from?
I personally have, and I think the bad investments are the most valuable ones, but because I've experienced a lot of different investment decisions myself as an investor, I can relay those experiences to clients in a way that is understandable so that we don't make those mistakes again. For instance, I have found that buying things that don't have a full land component under it or an asset that is unique really limits your capital growth. So things like apartments in buildings that have thousands of units surrounded by them are generally going to be a really poor investment for capital growth, just because it's not very finite and developers can continuously build units around you. So you just have to understand those mistakes and then learn from them and move forward in a direction that achieves what you're trying to achieve as an investor.
So what's your thoughts about the Gold Coast then, with all the high-rise residentials popping up everywhere?
Yeah.
Good investment, bad investment?
I think the Gold Coast was a fantastic investment 5 years ago, and people have made a lot of money over that time and that transitional period that the Gold Coast was so low and so affordable. But now what we've seen is the Gold Coast is extremely unaffordable. It's one of the most unaffordable markets in Australia to live in. And I think that creates a problem for investment, because if it's already unaffordable and people are no longer bringing their families up here to live and work because they can't afford to, it's very likely that we don't see that same demand in that property market, and we're not going to see that growth in the next 5 years over the next cycle. So I think right now it's definitely a sit and wait. I don't think it's a sell market, but I definitely don't think it's a buy market for investment.
Yeah, I think it's crazy that now they're selling apartments where the average two-bedder is over $1 million.
Yeah.
And that's an apartment, a high-rise where there's hundreds of apartments in the one building.
Yeah.
The market's just crazy on the Gold Coast at the moment.
It's silly. Yeah, it really is silly. And I lived here 7 or 8 years ago, and you could buy those same apartments for $500.
Yeah, crazy.
So
I guess
definitely changed.
What is the best investment to make at the moment?
The best investment is, I would suggest, firstly, the education around why you're doing it and what you're purchasing. So a lot of times people think, I should buy an investment. They run out and they go and buy an investment. But realistically, you don't want to just go and buy something for the sake of purchasing something, because that's not investing. You need to invest a little bit of money and a little bit of time in yourself to understand what you're doing. Once you know what you're doing, you know what to purchase, you know what you're after, you know what your goals are, that's when you start making the decision to purchase something. And that's what we really try to instill in a lot of our clients, is making sure the decision process is educated so that you're not making, or you've got the least chance of making a mistake. Okay,
so you're saying you can get a property that has great positive gearing on it, making lots of money for that regular income, but then the other options you go for a different property, which probably not going to make you a lot of money now each month, but the potential for growth in that area is go for it. So it depends on what strategy you want to go for.
Yeah. So there's a couple of ways that a lot of people look at property investing, which is your cash flow initiative where you just spoke about, Eve, and then you've also got the capital growth. I'd like to feel with investing that understanding the differences between the two is really important initially, because some people think that the cash flow of a property will allow you to retire sooner. But realistically, if you're 30 or 40 years old and you're getting an extra $1,000 or $2,000 of cash flow from a particular property, it's of no assistance really in getting you towards retirement. However, if you change your focus and say, okay, well, how do I find a property that almost covers its expenses and I can hold on to that for 10 years, but in 10 years it's going to go from $500,000 or $600,000 up to $1 million. Realistically, that $400,000 of equity over the 10-year period is far more cash flow, and it's a less likely outcome to have a taxable problem. So it's better to focus on how do we get the equity, because that's an asset that grows, whether, instead of the cash flow on the property itself.
Cool. That's awesome. When did you buy your first property? And how did you get there?
Yeah, I started working very young, so continuously saved, and then I did a stupid thing and bought a car when I was about 17. First and worst decision I made was getting that car because I lost money on it straight away, and then realised that if I sold the car, I could then start buying property. So me and my brother, we then went halves in a property purchase. I think I was 19 or 20 years old at the time. And then from then we have we as in me and my brother were consistent in purchasing and buying and selling, renovating, sort of doing subdivisions and building and that type of thing for about 5 or 6 years. And then we separated in terms of our portfolio, and I went my way and he went his way. And then me and my wife continued sort of just doing what we wanted to do from then on.
That's cool. How did you know to invest in property as a teenager?
Probably my brother was a big influence, I would say. So he has an accounting background. He's always had an investment background. And I was 9 years younger than him, so he had always wanted to purchase an investment property. And then once I had a bit of cash, he had a bit of cash. We said, okay, well, let's just go in together and learn the lessons. And yeah, it was a good partnership initially. And I think without his educational guidance or due diligence in the early stages, I definitely wouldn't have been able to do it, because he was very much the thorough one, whereas I was very much just working. had a bit of cash.
Yeah.
But eventually I did a lot more of the education and learnt myself, and transitioned as I got older.
Oh, that's awesome. So how long have you been doing property investing for then?
33 now, so 13 years, thereabouts, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And now you have a second business.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah. So I found the more I invested in real estate, the more I learned about investing, and the more I realised that property is a vehicle to park cash in, but it's not necessarily to make income from. So you buy your real estate, but you need income to put into the real estate to build the asset base. So we thought, okay, my wife and I had moved back to the Gold Coast, and we were looking for a job that my wife would really enjoy and like, and we saw that there was a studio that was probably poorly managed by the owner in the sense of growth targets and marketing and outcomes. And we just made them an offer. We said, look, we'll buy your business. And they ended up selling the business at asset cost. And as soon as we took it over, we invested a significant portion into advertising, the manager and items, and a bit of regeneration into the business and the studio. And it's been a phenomenal growth over the past 9 months of ownership. And it's exciting because it shows us that you can invest in real estate, but you can also invest in business. You just have to take the same mentality around educating yourself on what you're doing and then implementing and making it happen in a way that your customers and member base want.
That's cool. So you're actively looking for a business. Did you have qualifications? You said you want something that your wife had interest in. Was it always going to be a Pilates studio that you're looking for, or were you open to a restaurant or a e-com business?
Yeah. I think we actually looked at a lot of different businesses. I'm always looking for stuff. I would say most of my day is just looking at new things that I can buy, or new investments and new types of things, because I get the energy and the excitement from understanding how that business would work. So when I was looking for businesses, it would have been, over a 6-month period. And then I just had an understanding of what cafes and restaurants were doing, what Pilates studios and gymnasiums were doing, and all of these different things that you could purchase as an owner. But what I realized was that the business, like a cafe or a restaurant, you can buy that, but it's so much more hands-on with staff. It's so much more hands-on with your cost of goods to sell and everything like that. And we found that when you start getting into gyms and Pilates and studios like that, you've actually got a situation where you've got a venue, you've got a manager, and then you've got a member base. And if you grow your member base in your studio, that's your main expense, and then the manager is looking after your business for you. So we found that to be a really low risk business. So when we looked at it, we said, okay, well, if we can buy this as asset based, it just makes sense because we're actually just buying the equipment. Everything else is free, and we've already got a member base in there. So realistically, we're not taking a risk. The other owner or the person selling the business to us has just given up, and we're sort of giving them an exit.
Cool. Yeah, that's an awesome strategy.
Yeah.
So when you got in, how many members were there and how many are there now?
Cool, good question. So we started the business, our low point when we took over was 86 recurring members at the studio itself. And since then, we removed a very significant problem that we had within the business, which is a company called ClassPass. ClassPass has been something that was holding the business back because it would take members away from the studio and allow them to become casuals. And we didn't want that because we had this beautiful community, we had an amazing manager looking after it. So we said, okay, well, if we remove ClassPass and we only tell people that they can come direct, and we invest in advertising and we really grow that in the Miami region, what's that going to do? So we trialed it. We did it for a month and we really slowed down ClassPass, and we saw our business grow at 10, 15, 20 members just in that month. So ClassPass was limited. And then we started running some more campaigns and we did more marketing. And then all of a sudden over that 9-month period, we're now sitting at about 170 recurring members, and also another 50 or 60 that are really much casual or active users, but are more one-timers. They don't need a membership because they might come once a week type thing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I guess, was it hard picking up ClassPass? Because I'd imagine ClassPass is the easy answer for everyone.
Easy, so easy. Yeah. It's difficult because ClassPass makes you feel like you need them. That's their business model. They make you feel like they're filling your slots, and they make you feel like they are a benefit to your business, and they are a benefit to your business if you don't understand how to build the community within the studio, because they will fill your slots, but they'll only pay you a minimal amount. So it's not even enough to cover the cost of the class in a lot of instances with ClassPass. So we found that the decision to remove them was difficult because they were probably 10 to 15% of the revenue of the studio at the time. So just taking that risk and saying, wow, we're not going to get $1,500 or $2,000 this month from ClassPass because of their bookings. Okay, yeah, cool. Well, maybe if we stuff this up, that's a concern. But I feel like in business, you have to take a risk. You can't sit there and do the same thing if it's not working, because if you don't pivot, you will go out of business. That's right. I think what we found was it wasn't working with ClassPass. The manager was getting frustrated. The members were getting frustrated. And we're like, well, if it's not working, then let's just cut it. And then let's figure out how to make it work how it used to. Because the business before they brought on ClassPass was actually significantly better and bigger. And then they brought ClassPass in and then it deteriorated. So that's saying something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. And so you've also done stuff, you've done other things that I've seen in the studio to create community and to create that legacy as well.
Yeah.
Like you've got rewards for members.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I think when you've got a user base that loves the type of exercise that they're doing, and they enjoy coming to the place where they're doing it, and they get that feeling not just physically but also emotionally that they're part of that space and they want to come back and they get rewarded and the business gives back to the community. It just creates that energy within the business and the energy within the studio and the teachers and the instructors and the manager. So it's almost like instead of just making business or creating a business for profit, you're creating something where people can get appreciation from, energy and excitement for their day, and then you're also just giving back to them. There's no point being a business owner that takes everything out and then just gives it to themselves. It's better to actually give it back to the members and the community that's given to you in the first place, because we have always seen when you offer stuff for free, or if you give back to the community, the offer for free is always a limited time, in the sense that people will take it, but they may not appreciate it. Whereas if you can get them on board at a normal membership, but then you just continuously give back, they're going to stay with you for longer. We've always tried to steer away from giving stuff to people for free, because you just attract the wrong type of person.
Back to marketing the Essential Studio.
Yeah.
You said you do social media. Obviously, we've done some videos for you to help you with that.
Yeah.
I guess, what's your marketing mix look like?
Yeah.
Advertising.
I took it upon, I guess, myself when I was doing the investment company to really understand how ads work. So ads on Google, ads on social media. It's super crucial to be across that as a business owner, because there's a lot of companies that they will charge you for it, and they will say, hey, we'll manage your social account. But in a lot of instances, they don't know any more than you do. So why give it to them when you've got more care over your company's goals than they would themselves? So we took it upon ourselves to learn more about what we were trying to achieve. So we wrote a bit of a marketing guideline, each month on what we're trying to get as an outcome. And then we go forward and figure out what content we need for that. So the content then comes to yourselves, Coops, and we get that generated in a way that it doesn't feel like an ad. It's more of a post that is an advertisement, because people will resonate with the emotion around the post and the emotion around where they're going, not come in, we've got a deal for you. Because come in, we've got a deal for you. 90% of businesses do that. So why would we try and do that? We want to be a little bit different. So some of the stuff we've got coming out in 2025 is really exciting. It's engaging, and it's taking us to where we want to go on the Gold Coast, which is to be one of the largest Pilates studios up here, which is the goal that we will achieve.
Yeah, that's awesome. I have no doubt you guys will achieve it. You have an awesome community, and it's cool to see everyone that goes, they're just vibing out every session. So that's cool. And
we've worked hard, not us personally, me and my wife don't work in the studio, but our business manager and the previous manager that is now on mat leave, they have worked so exceptionally hard to build that community and that member base to where it is now. And that, in our view, is how you need to run a business. It's not about the owners. It's not about ourselves. It's actually about how do we give the manager what they need to help us get the business to where it needs to go. So it's just about the people that you sort of have. You look after them, and they're going to look after your business.
Yeah, cool. I agree. If you don't mind me asking, which of your businesses is more, more profitable? Or
I think profitability in business can be seen in a few different ways, because there is a way of making profit as a business owner that you're hands-on doing the sales, you're doing the transactions, and you are the business. Okay, and I find that for me, I'm very close to wanting to step away from that side of thing in the sales side of things. So with the investment company, it definitely is the most profitable, but I'm also putting the most work into it. It's my man hours that is creating that profit. So I'm working for, an hourly wage, you could call it. Whereas with the Pilates studio, we put in a lot less time, but we invest in the team, and that generates a profit for us without the need for overarching work hours. And I think when you differentiate them, I would say that the studio, the business management around that is definitely more successful, because if we went away, it would still operate, it would still work. But if I go away from the property investment company, it will stop. So there's a two-tiered approach that we look at. And I think in the next 2 or 3 years, the studio will definitely outweigh the investment company by a long shot. And one of the main factors for that profitability is recurring revenue. When you build a business around people that come week in, week out, they pay you week in, week out, that is a very easy way to create a revenue stream that is comfortable for reinvestment. Whereas if I don't make a sale in property investment, I don't get paid. There's no I get paid a little, it's transactional. So it's just a different business model.
Yeah, cool. It's the same for me. I'm trying to work myself out of the business and hire the right people so that I'm not needed in the day-to-day. That's my goal. But also in growing my business, it only was able to, I could only grow it once I got clients that were, the 6-12 month contracts where I knew that every month I'd be paying a certain amount.
Exactly.
Gave me that base and that foundation to be able to grow and hire more people and then look for more clients and like that. So
gives you confidence because
right.
you're like, cool, we've got, 100, couple hundred coming in recurring revenue. That allows us to put someone on to manage that, and then you can sort of grow further. So it definitely is the model that I think a lot of businesses need to figure out a way to shift towards, because it is much more comfortable to know that this is our month, this is what we're getting, but anything on top is also a bonus.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Now you've got a little one. How do you manage family and 2 businesses?
I always thought that having a baby would be a lot easier. It's not. So your routine when you have a baby completely goes out the window. So I was very morning routine that it would be my time. I'd wake up, I'd go for a walk, I'd spend some time outside, I might do some gym work, have a swim, and then sort of start work at, maybe 9:30, 10, maybe 11 o'clock some mornings. And that was amazing. Then you have a baby. That doesn't happen anymore. So I still wake up at the same time, but my role now as a father is to make sure that mum gets to sleep in, mum gets to have that relaxation, because she puts so much effort and time into looking after the bub during the day that I can do the morning shift. I can do that first 3-4 hours so that she can wake up fresh, and then she can do the day shift whilst I'm working, and then I can sort of jump in and out. So it's just about, I think, adjusting your own personal routine and then collaborating more with your spouse or wife and thinking about a way to make it work as a family, because it's just the things change. Like there are certain days where things will just go wrong and you just need to be like, cool, get on with it, change your day. And as a business owner, you can do that. So I think we're very blessed in the sense of having that ownership over a company means that if you need to step away for 24 hours, you can do it.
Yeah.
You don't need to punch in a leave card or something like that and say you can. So we are blessed in the sense of how we set up our businesses and our investments so that we did have this freedom when we did have a child.
Oh, well, that's awesome. What's one of the biggest mistakes you've made in business? And what was the lesson learned from that?
Good question. Probably just getting into business with the wrong people. Getting into business with people that have a bad energy around money. So their energy is, how do we make more money? How do we charge more? How do we just take more for ourselves? And I think when you are in business and you're with people like that, it can be an extremely toxic way of building a company, because you never think about the customer, you only think about yourself. And I think learning from that mistake of working with people that don't care about the customer really built the foundation of our businesses today, because we knew that focusing on money is one thing that will be transactional, and you might make some, but you'll lose the customer, and the customer is the person that paid you. So you're actually better off focusing on the customer and figuring out how do you make them come back, because if they come back, it doesn't cost you anything to add to advertising. And they're also a raving fan. They'll give you a review. They'll tell their friends. They'll tell their family, and that's free. Whereas the other way of business that a lot of people that I have seen and had times working with is just focused on money, transactions. How do we make an income? And I think that that's just the wrong approach. So that lesson was learned a few years ago, and we've just transitioned completely away from it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. And if you had to start a new business from scratch and you had say you had $5,000 in your pocket and that was it, what would you do and how would you go about it?
Door-to-door sales. You got to be out there hustling. You got to know you got to get a product. You got $5,000, figure out what they want, what homes would want, knock on some doors and see if you can sell it. Don't do electrical. Don't do electricity. But no, you've got to, I think if you've only got $5,000 in business, you need to use that for your product or your own education to get you to a position where you can then sell a product.
Yeah.
Because sales is the foundation for any business. If you can't sell anything, then you're never going to make money. No matter how good your product is, you will not make money from it, because if no one's buying it, good luck. So I learned very early on in real estate when I was in my early 20s that if you want to get good at something, learn how to speak to people in a way that they can build rapport with you but not feel like you're being sold to. And once you can get that level of integrity in your conversations with people, they will trust and they'll understand what you're trying to achieve for them, and then they will accept the offer and they'll say, hey, you're doing the right thing for me. And I learned that face to face on the door with people. So I made many, many mistakes doing it, and many, many hard conversations with people yelling and closing the door. But the more you do it, the better you get. So
the easier it is to get that door slammed.
I was doing 40 a day at one stage, so 40 doors a day.
Wow.
And it was tough in the middle of summer on the Gold Coast, 32, 33 degrees some days.
What were you selling?
Houses.
Oh yeah, oh, real estate, right?
Yeah. So I was just out there knocking on doors, looking for listings and meeting people. But the thing I learned from that was, if you work hard and you speak to the more people you speak to, the more chances you got. And I think that was a really nice thing that we learned and have just implemented ongoing. Work hard.
Last question: what are 3 traits of a successful entrepreneur?
Number 1, curiosity. Curiosity would be so crucial to any business, because if you're not curious about every single thing happening in the business, and if you don't want to learn about it, then you're not going to be successful in doing it, because you can't just continuously outsource stuff to people that you don't understand. Because if you outsource your marketing to someone and you don't understand what they're doing, they're going to rip you off, or you're going to get into bed with the wrong person that takes advantage of you. If you outsource something around management that you don't understand yourself, that manager might not be doing a job that you're happy with. But if you know how to manage yourself, but you just don't want to do it, that means that you can help them do their role, and you're outsourcing it then because you've got experience. So you need to learn and understand every facet of business as a curious person in that sense. Number 2, I would say integrity. Doing what you say you're going to do. Don't tell someone that, oh yeah, we'll give you a bonus at the end of the month, and then not do it, because that just fosters a lie.
And just trust.
People are sitting there being like, cool, they said that, but they won't do it. So I think when you make an offer to someone, let's follow through, let's figure out how to make it happen. And then overall growth mindset, like think ahead. So that third one around thinking ahead is crucial to the excitement of yourself and the excitement of your overarching business. So if you give people the excitement that you're growing and you're going somewhere and they're a part of it, that is going to create energy within the business. And I think when you've got energy in the business around growth, people come to work and they want to be excited and they want to grow with you, because everyone, gets excited around that. So I think that's a really big thing. It's just thinking ahead and then explaining how you're trying to achieve it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Give me lots of good things to think about today. So, no, I really appreciate our conversation.
Yeah, thanks so much, Eve. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Trent.
Cheers. Wow.